What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Drop Top Performance YouTube channel. So today we're going to go over the Terminator X install that I did on my 1999 WS6 Trans Am. If you're not aware of the situation, go ahead and look at the video up here in the corner somewhere. Pretty much what happened is the old ECU fried itself due to a grounded wire or something along the lines of that happening because a rat decided to make a snack pack out of my original wiring harness. Left me kind of stranded, blah, 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 30 days till race day. So yeah, pretty much that. Actually, I think it's more like 20 something days now, which is, you know, a lot worse now that I think about it like that. I really need to get this thing done. But no more talking. Let's go ahead and go over what I've done with the car and getting the Terminator X installed, and not only installed, but allowing the key to prime the fuel, the ignition, and all the goodies, and the starter. So everything works off the key, which I think is pretty trick. Thanks to a write-up on LS1 Tech, I believe, by Solomon, and he was an awesome help. I reached out to him on Instagram because there were questions that I needed to know answers to that just kind of in the write-up, because my tiny pea brain, I wasn't able to kind of, you know, probably use common sense, I guess, but there are things that I wanted to clarify before I just go ahead and start throwing things on this car. So what I figured I'd do is kind of take his write-up and then put it into a video, because I'm a visual learner and I'm sure there's other people out there like this. You're probably watching this because you're trying to figure out how to do the same exact thing. So hopefully by the end of this, we can all be on the same page here and I can show you what I did. So I'm gonna turn you guys around real quick and show you kind of where we're at with the install as soon as I can get some light in this thing. So currently got everything off the top still, just because I'm waiting on injectors and I got to do the fuel system, so that's just less stuff I have to worry about when I do the fuel system here next, which will be the next episode, excuse me, the one after the next episode, because the next episode will be going through the new parts that I have over there from Trick Chassis. So everything's hooked up for the most part, and ran through the firewall. I used a 3-inch or 2-inch bezel piece through Motion Raceworks. It's just a firewall piece with a rubber insert you cut to push the you know, wires through. I ran everything sensor related and main harness related through that firewall, but I separated that and my power stuff through the spot that's down here. So I used the old you know, grommet, and everything fits fine. So I got my power wires and then water pump, or excuse me, fuel pump and all that good stuff in there, and it's running directly underneath. Now I didn't have the I did have everything here, so you have like the C101 connector and all that good stuff that sits up top, but I didn't really want that anymore, so I wanted to hide it away. So I tucked it underneath the fender, which we'll go over here in a second, because I used those existing connectors, and of the sub harness that goes up front, which is down in here, actually it's like right in here, that curls up underneath the battery, and I use the old harness, the C101, to the new wires and stuff off the Holly. And that way I wasn't having to splice, and it's clean, and all I have to do is unplug the plug and then we're good to go. So let's go ahead and go underneath there. One of the super important things that you want to keep in mind when installing one of these Hollies, and I know everybody talks about it, is power directly to the battery, okay? It needs its own battery source or own power source along with the ground. And there's also another one in the harness that wants its own chassis ground, which usually I would stack, but if it says only one, then hey, guess what? I'm gonna go for one, and that's it, because $1,300 is a lot of money to waste on, okay? So let me show you what I'm doing here, guys. So like I said, I took the loom. This is, you know, your power and ground here from the main power supply, which I'll show you here in a second. But I wanted to go to the connector because this is going to be the thing that eats up the most time. So on the Charlie 101 connector, which is the white connector, the furthest up top, which will be sitting right in here, you want to get a couple wires, okay? So 2 of them want to be grounded. The one that wants to be grounded would be the H here. It'll be a black wire. Now that's literally just a ground. It's a ground for the fuel pump. Pretty self-explanatory, right? And then the other one that you want to ground, and what I did is I just tapped them into one single wire. So I take the 2 and I boom right into one, and then that's a ground. So you got the H right here in the center, and then you also have the, I believe it's the alpha. So it is the yellow with the black stripe. And what this is the anti-theft. So you need to ground this out, or the VAT system is gonna, you know, start trying to bug with your stuff. So what I did is I took the old connector like so, boom, right here, the male side, and I took the female side of the sub harness. All right guys, so one of the things that I failed to mention is your keyed on power source, which is actually located in the connector as well. So on the Holley system, you'll have a switched 12 volt. I connected that to the Bravo. It's a pink wire. It's the fuse output ignition, and it's good for both key on and while starting, so the Holley doesn't die while you're trying to crank the engine. So that's the one that I use, and you can still retain the connector. That stays on the vehicle, and this will all get tucked under here, underneath the wheel well. And also, this is the keyed power source. This big purple wire is the keyed powered source for the starter. So it will go directly to the small nut on the starter. And what I did is I went ahead and I took the old harness, and instead of just doing my own, I wanted to use the old clip, which you guys probably can't see very good. So let me move the light real quick. So hopefully that's a little bit better. I took the old harness and I ripped that out and just used the old existing plug and went straight to the starter. So that should be all good and fine and dandy. These other 2 ones you can use for like the trunk and stuff. I think I didn't do it because I have a key and I don't really care. So it's not something that was pertinent for me to do right at this second. So that's pretty much what I've done with the old plug. And then I tucked everything, obviously, to kind of clean it up. Now let's go into the interior of the car so I can show you where I decided to mount the Holley Terminator system. It's still kind of a mess. I'm still trying to figure out a few little things. So don't judge me too hard here. So I still got the tack wire that needs to be ran and have stuff done too. Honestly, it's going to be super simple because all I'm going to do is run it into my shift light that's over there, the Raptor shift light. So pretty much this is how I have it. It's pretty clean. I mean, aside from all this is all those loose stuff, and then this is, you know, just whatever. So don't mind all the crap. This is how I mounted the ECU. So this is where I mounted the Terminator X Max. And then if you check on back in there, I have the main harness bolted to the firewall, and then I have the power wires kind of zip tied to that for now, because after this race I'm going to be relocating the battery, so I wasn't about to cut the wires and do all that nastiness. So this is the setup for the Terminator Max. I did have to modify it. I had to do a little bit of fabrication, but I mean, it's super simple and really not hard at all. So that's the setup for that, and everything works. Cleans up nice. And one of the cool things about this as well is you guys can't see it yet, but when I go to turn the key on here in a minute, you'll be able to actually see all the indicators from the LEDs to let you kind of know if anything's messed up or not, which is pretty cool because the Holley will tell you like, hey stupid, it's your throttle position sensor you need to look at. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump in the car and make sure that the fuel is going to go into my Fanta bottle and not all over the place. So what we'll do is we will find the key and start it here. I'm not gonna turn the ignition all the way on and try to start it just because I have the heads covered with some paper towels and I don't really want to suck those into the engine. So you can hear the water pump rolling. Security light will come off here in a second. It is off. All I would have to do is turn the keys, and if you look down here, you can see the lights perfectly clear of the Terminator X. So that is pretty cool. And then I'll show you, get out and let y'all see that the fuel pump does indeed work. So that's pretty nifty, and I like that a lot better than having to do a switch panel, which, if I'm being honest guys, I'm gonna have to do a switch panel anyways right here. What I plan on doing is taking some like ABS plastic and then mounting my monitor here, probably run it on this side just so I can see it. With this, you're not gonna be able to use most of the factory gauges, and it is what it is. I'm gonna eventually go to a Pro Dash anyways, thanks to my buddy Kevin over at Trailer Park Motorsports. That guy is a wizard when it comes to the Holley stuff and the Pro Dashes. So I just don't have the cheese to spend on that right now because I still got to get a clutch and a couple other little things before FL2K. So I know there's going to be a lot of y'all that could probably just read the write-up and be like, oh, that's exactly what I need to do. And that's fine, that's cool. I'm happy that you're intelligent like that. I am not. So it took me a little bit extra and I had to ask some questions. And I just want to give Solomon a big shout out. I believe his Instagram is like 9-second tuna or something like that. He has a pretty wicked Trans Am. I'm assuming it runs 9s because it's in the name. So it's a pretty cool setup. It's a beautiful car, and I'm just trying to get like him, you know. Really hoping that doing all this and spending all this money is going to be worth it. If it brings a little bit of happiness to me, then hey, that's good enough for me. But guys, hopefully this helps you guys install your Holley Terminator X. I have a Max. It's a manual car. It was the only one I could get at the time. So what are you going to do? But it all applies the same. All right. Maybe a little different if you were installing transmission stuff, but all of that part is going to be in the Holley instructions anyways. So you're really not going to need to tap into the old harness or anything that I would be aware of. Wouldn't really make much sense to me. So that is it, guys. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below or on my Facebook page. It's Drop Top Performance on Facebook. Kind of self-explanatory. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Check you later.